Hi, my name is Gurmeet Manku. In this video, I'm sharing with you a breakfast strategy that I have followed consistently since 2012 when I adopted the whole food plant-based guidelines. Okay, the pictures look like this. I used to do a cooked breakfast for almost 10 years. This is like a rolled oats breakfast in 5 minutes. This is like a rolled oats with plant-based milk. This is pictures I get at a friend's place. He's a German friend. We can make it out of amaranth. So I'll describe in a moment what I do. I'm just showing you pictures to begin with. This is buckwheat breakfast. This is barley. This is einkorn. This is rye. I've tried several whole grains available in the market. In 2019 or so, I drifted towards a raw food system. So slowly I introduced some raw foods and then I became 100% raw breakfast. So this is a typical breakfast I make. And by the way, all these pictures are on Instagram. I'll share the link somewhere. And this is like sprouted barley and sprouted mung. So you see the trend. So I'll walk you through what I did step by step. And we can use multiple different grains can be sprouted. Okay, so here is my strategy. Okay, so the bulk of my recipe is whole grains and fruits and berries. So this is the main thing I'm doing. And in small quantities, I have experimented with lots of different things. But consistently, I used to add seeds and what I call flavor enhancers. Okay, so again, sometimes I used to do nuts and sweeteners like dates and plant-based milk. Okay, now around 2021, maybe 2020 or so, I started understanding there is a low-fat component to whole food plant-based guidelines. I was not really aware of this really important low-fat guideline. And then I started watching videos by Dr. Peter Rogers. Then I dug into literature. Oh, wow. So the original studies by Ornish, Esselstyn, Barnard, they have 10% total fat intake. So I got influenced. And then I cleaned up my food system inspired by the low-fat guideline. So what it means practically is that my seeds and nuts intake became less and I moved towards seeds only. So I will explain all this in a separate video. In this video, I'm just sharing the big picture with you. So let's see. For example, this is a picture from 2021. It's a rolled oats breakfast. At the very bottom is rolled oats. We can't see them because they are hidden. The toppings, okay? I see bananas and prunes. So these are fruits. And then a bunch of berries, strawberries, jujubes. So jujubes can be found in Mediterranean stores in California. And blueberries. These are frozen. Okay. And I was adding a couple of seeds, ground flax seeds, sunflower seeds. And then since 2021, 22, I started reducing them for, I'll make a separate video what I'm doing in the nuts and seeds world. And in this particular video, in this particular picture, I also have edamame, but that was not a daily thing. I was adding soy foods also in my food. And someday I'll make a video on soy foods, what I do in my own meals today and what I used to do in the past. Okay, rose petals is just for visual appeal. And sometimes I would put plant-based milk or dates and vanilla extract. I have tried all these combinations. So again, whole grains, fruits, and berries. These are the bulk of the recipe. And I chose different ones, colorful ones, And seeds used to be there and flavor enhancers. So flavor enhancers are cinnamon powder, ginger powder, nutmeg, saffron, whatever makes it interesting. I used to add nuts. Initially, I used to add nuts for several years. Then I removed nuts. And sweeteners are dates, plant-based milk. And then, in 2022 or so, 2021, I started experimenting with beans and leafy greens in the recipe. I'll come to that in a moment. Okay. So if somebody wants to mimic, let's say my daughter, the elder one or the younger one says, I want to do something like what you do, then what do I do? So I will tell them, get started with oats. Very simple. Okay. So if either of you is watching, I hope you do this. So again, there are so many different ways of picking oats, and I will make a separate video on whole grains because there are lots of questions to be answered there. There are whole grains, refined grains, there are intact whole grains, there are rolled grains, puffed grains. You can sprout them. Okay, so I'll discuss these trade-offs and what to do in some separate video. But to get started, there is steel cut oats, there is rolled oats. So these are the two main things I have picked. Okay, so we can cook them in a variety of ways. Okay, so but the predominant thing I did was for 10 years I was doing simple pot boiling in the morning after soaking the whole grain overnight. So this can be applied to all whole grains, not just oats, but all whole grains. Then the cooking time reduces. And while it was cooking, I used to chop the fruit and prepare lunch, etc. Okay. Microwave has been very helpful in travel times. If I'm traveling, I'm in some Airbnb or sometimes in some place like a hotel, or if I'm at a friend's place, we're in a hurry, then all I have to do is take some rolled oats, put some water, microwave, and it's ready. Okay, then curiously, a couple of years ago when I was exploring raw food systems, I learned that steel cut oats and rolled oats don't really need cooking. We can just soak them overnight, and by morning, the steel cut oats are fairly chewy. But from nutrition perspective, my understanding is that it's okay to eat them like that. So raw foodists seem to do that. I said, okay, I will try, and rolled oats can be handled this way. Okay, so this way we don't even have to cook anything. So we just assemble the whole thing overnight, and it's ready by morning. But as a purist, I don't want to cut my fruit overnight and just let it be. So I will chop my fruit in the morning. Okay. Okay. So here is an amazing combination. That's one of my favorites. It's rolled oats, banana, cocoa powder, and dates. And imagine, how would I assemble this? Rolled oats in water, either microwaved or just soaked overnight. A banana, we don't even need a knife for this. A spoon can be used to just chop the banana into large pieces. Cocoa powder is a powder. And dates, you can either add dates, and nowadays if I use dates, I will soak them overnight so that they are rehydrated. And we can also use date syrup or date powder. They are considered okay in whole food plant-based circles instead of fresh or partly dehydrated dates. What is amazing about this combination is that, banana plus cocoa powder by itself, if bananas are frozen, that starts becoming a nice cream. There's a beautiful recipe called nice cream. You really have to make it and see how tasty it is. If we want to, we can make it further sweeter with dates or some date version, right? Okay, if this can be blenderized into a hot drink or a cold drink. Okay, this whole preparation can be heated in an oven or something, and we can make cookies out of it. So there are lots of variations to the theme. I have not explored all these variations, but this combination is fascinating for my taste buds. Now, I know people who say dates are just too sweet. I don't want so many dates. I know people who don't like cocoa powder. I have some loved ones. They say, I don't like bananas. So not everybody may enjoy this, but this is something I have come to enjoy. Okay. So again, cocoa powder comes in two forms. I found a nice video that explains the two forms. And Dr. Greger, one of the whole food plant-based luminaries, he explains these nuances. One is processed, so we lose some micronutrients, but it becomes tastier, so we eat more, and it compensates for the loss in nutrition because we are able to eat more of the Dutch process. So this one is kind of somewhat, I would say, a little bitter, the bitter dark chocolate flavor, and this one is milder and sweeter. So all of them are just fine. And there is something called carob powder I chanced upon. It's similar but different. It has to be tried. But there are studies on cocoa powder. So Dr. Greger would say cocoa powder. I could not find enough studies for carob powder, but Dr. Greger says that's also fine. Okay, so this is the recipe. The simple one to get started. If my daughters say they want to follow this, for whole grains, take rolled oats. For fruits, pick a banana. For flavor enhancement, cocoa powder. For sweetener, dates. That's it. These four things make a beautiful breakfast. But we can improve upon it. Okay, the nutrition profile and the flavor and the visual appeal, everything will go up if we do some variation to this. Okay, so what is the variation? Let's see. Some things are missing, right? So for berries, there is something called amla powder. It's called Indian gooseberry powder, and I will make a separate video on berries. It's considered really, really good. There are interventional studies. It has antioxidants. Too many things are going on in amla powder. Okay, so half teaspoon amla powder. Now, I have not done this consistently. I have done this once in a while, but it's a very common guideline in whole food plant-based circles. Okay, then blueberries or some other berries that we can find. Okay, we can enhance this with berries. Among the seeds, the best seeds as per Dr. Greger is 1 tablespoon ground flaxseed. So why does he say that? Again, I'll make a separate video. And nowadays, since last year, I got influenced by the very low fat guidelines. So I have done some changes to my seed intake. But this is a classic guideline in regular whole food plant-based circles to introduce 1 tablespoon ground flaxseed into the breakfast. And I did this for the several years, okay, consistently. So flavor enhancers are things like cardamom powder, very, very, very tasty, or vanilla extract, okay. And if somebody wants, we can add plant-based milk also. That will also give it an interesting flavor to get started. But, this is not a whole milk, and this is not a whole food, and commercially sold plant-based milks often have a long list of ingredients, and I can't really understand what all has been added. So I stay away from these milks nowadays, but I have used them in the past. Okay, and if somebody is getting started, like my daughters say they want to get started, get started with unsweetened almond milk and just mix it up. Okay, so rolled oats breakfast. Here's another way to visualize it. These are the same components I just showed you: whole grains, fruit, berries, some seeds, sweeteners like dates and their variants, some miscellaneous things. Okay. This is a nice picture. This was actually made in 5 minutes. Okay. All I did was I took some rolled oats, microwaved in water for 5 minutes. I took some time to peel a mango and then chop it. It took me around maybe 4 minutes to do all this. I'm kind of quick in the kitchen. I can do things fast. And then I added some berries and some seeds. Now this one has a bunch of extra seeds. It also looks visually nice, right? And we can add dates if somebody is not satisfied with the sweetness of the mango. Okay. This one has, all these pictures have plant-based milk. Okay. And these pictures are at a German friend's place. He and I have so many things in common. We went for the same meditation retreats, the 10-day Vipassana retreats, silent retreats. We follow whole food plant-based guidelines. We are both in computer science, both have PhDs. We both worked at Google. He's still at Google. We actually met because we went for these amazing hikes, and he took me for the first snowshoeing trip, and we did a couple of backpacking trips together. So there's so many things in common, and he's like a cosmic brother of sorts. Okay, he's from Germany, and he has these amazing blue-colored bowls. So I stayed at his place for several weeks in 2021, and the pictures just come out amazing because he has a backyard. There's mint at his place. And he also follows a similar strategy for breakfast. So all these pictures, Instagram pictures come at his place. Here is another picture. This one is without nuts and seeds. In the bottom, it is not almonds. It's actually fresh jujubes in the center. If you slice them, they look like almonds, but it's jujubes. Okay. So what is the shopping list if somebody wants to do this? We start with oats, steel cut or thick rolled oats. Almost every grocery shop will have it. Cocoa powder, if we like the cocoa powder variant of it, but there are many other ways to make it tasty also. Okay, and we can pick either of them, the Dutched or the undutched. Amla powder is something special. Many people may not have heard of it. It is Indian gooseberry. It's found on Amazon. There are multiple brands. So I buy organic amla powder from some brand. Okay, ground flaxseed. Okay. It's commonly found in stores, like Trader Joe's will have it. Okay, dates again commonly found, but if you want to try different dates, Mediterranean stores have a variety of dates. Okay, and we can use date sugar or date syrup if you want. But I have never bought date sugar. I never bought date syrup. I have always bought dates, and dates might stick in the teeth because they're kind of dried fruits. So if you want, we can soak them overnight, and by morning they have rehydrated, and they will not stick in the mouth. And then there are all these flavor enhancers and spices. I'll make a separate video with lots of ideas: cardamom powder, vanilla extract, cinnamon powder. You get the idea, right? Berries. We can actually buy a lot of berries. We are blessed in USA. We have access to a lot of berries. Fresh, frozen, dried berry powders. Okay, I'll make a video. And berries are important. Berries are the best fruits, Dr. Greger teaches us. Okay, so I invested in berries. I'll show you which ones I have. And then fruit, this requires weekly shopping. We really have to go to a shop and buy them. Nowadays, amazingly, food can be delivered. There are these delivery services, so the food can come to our home. But I always go and buy food because I love to go to grocery stores and see all those beautiful things. So that's my style. And berries, if you're buying fresh berries, which are very expensive, then you really have to go every week, possibly twice a week. But I don't buy berries like this. I go for frozen berries. They will last a month, okay, or dried berries. And then there is plant-based milk. They should really be unsweetened, okay. And if somebody is getting started, then we may choose to have additional nuts and seeds. But then I would really request you to go and study the low-fat guideline. Like, why does it exist? Why do so many plant-based doctors say? What is the reasoning? And you might choose to follow a low-fat version of whole food plant-based guidelines also, just like I do. Okay. The same strategy works for all whole grains. So in the 10 years, I have bought almost all the whole grains I ever could find here and there. This is amaranth. This is one of my favorite cooked food recipes. Okay. Amaranth is very close to whole wheat. In North India, we have Sikh temples called Gurudwaras, and we make Kada Prasad. Okay, so this comes close to that, okay, because amaranth is very sweet by itself. Now, if we sweeten it further with some dates, or we put some mango or something, it gets sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. If you really want to make it super sweet, we can add raisins, we can add some dried fruits. Okay, you want to make it nutty, introduce some nuts to it. So if I'm serving this to somebody at a party, because everybody there wants this intense sweet flavor and they're okay with high fat meals, so then I would prepare it that way. But at home, I don't put nuts and seeds, just the simple combination of amaranth, mango, and what is this called? Cardamom powder. That's good enough. Just 3 things put together. It's such a elegant, simple breakfast and very flavorful. Okay. All right. This is teff. It's one of those grains from Ethiopia predominantly, and it's very flavorful, very tasty, but a bit expensive. Quinoa. It cooks so fast. Okay. It's a blessing that we have grains which cook so fast. Whole grains. Okay. Buckwheat. One thing about buckwheat is, it's possible to take buckwheat, soak it overnight, and by morning we have to rinse it a few times, and it's ready to eat, and it's also tasty. I really encourage my friends to go try buckwheat like this, and we can add additives and you'll see what's going on. Okay, here is barley, one of the grains with very low glycemic index. This is cracked wheat. In my personal life, somehow, I tried this multiple times. Every time I had a consistent experience. I just feel heavyish after eating cracked wheat and dalia, as if, I have eaten something heavy and I'm getting sluggish. So I intuitively said, no, I will do other things. I will buy other grains, which make me feel light or lighter. Okay. Somehow that happened. I have no explanation for why it happened like that. There is kamut. Kamut is a variant of, it's in the wheat family. It's a very tasty grain. It also sprouts. There's einkorn, kind of expensive, but I've been trying all whole grains. I want to see how they taste. So sometimes I have bought einkorn also. This is kaniva. I didn't even know there was something called kaniva. I think it was 2019. I heard, wow, there is a grain called kaniva. I said, okay, let's buy. And it's actually tasty. It has its own subtle flavor. Again, on the expensive side, but there is rye. This is spelt. Okay, and so now you can see how I get so many different pictures of food every day. Different whole grains can be tried, and I encourage my friends, try different ones. Unless we try it, how will we know what we like? Everybody is different. Okay, so we have to figure out, and if we commit to making this kind of breakfast every day and kind of do some variation, right? Try different fruits, try different berries, try different whatever plant-based milk. Over time, after a month, 2 months, 3 months, we start discovering, yeah, I like these 5-6 things. So it's a joyful journey to experience and figure this out for everybody. So that's why I don't share exact recipes. I don't even have them. I share methodologies, like please go experiment, commit to this. You will find your own thing which you love. Okay, and then you share with others what you have discovered. Okay, so different fruits, different fruit combinations, different berries. I'll make a video on so many berries which are available in USA. We are blessed. There's a bunch of flavor enhancers, subtle things we can add. We can add dates in a couple of different forms. Okay, so you get the idea. I don't like the idea of baking it, but I have seen people who bake it, because the reason I don't like it is I don't want to bake all those fruits. Why should we bake a fruity preparation? That's why I don't bake this kind of preparation, but some people have done this. Now, these are 2 advanced ideas. We can introduce beans. We can introduce leafy greens. I'll share them with you. Another interesting idea is we can try sweet potatoes instead of whole grains, and we can try a raw breakfast. So I'll show you all this stuff in a moment. Okay. So beans for breakfast, I started doing this in 2019 or so. Okay. For the 7 years, 2012 till 2019, I did not do this. But then I thought, okay, because around this time I started doing a raw breakfast. Then I said, why don't I just sprout some beans and add it? It'll be just fine. And mung beans, in India we call it moong beans, moong ki dal. In English it becomes mung beans. Okay. So because I was doing sprouted grains, I said, let me add sprouted beans, and it's all very tasty. It works out. Okay. So this is basically a medley of berries and a few seeds soaked overnight. They swell up and it's like a jam. Some berries are piquant, some berries are sweetish, and it's an interesting medley of flavors. Okay. Again, Dr. Greger also has a strategy for grains and beans. in the cooked world, and he calls it brol, B-R-O-L. So he's basically saying make barley, rye, oat and lentils. If you read his article, why he's saying this, there are little tidbits of nutrition information in there, if somebody wants to go there. But the general concept is he has put together some grains and beans together. In India, we call it khichdi, often made with dal chawal, but chawal means whole grains, not the white rice, but the whole grain. Instead of chawal, we can use any other whole grain like millets or something. Okay, so basically, after we have a basic dal chawal thing like this, we can then go in the sweet direction or in the savory direction, as Dr. Greger shows. So I would suggest just go to his website and look for this, and the recipe is right here. How he has made this, you'll see it's similar to what I do. Okay, if you really study this, or we can go in the savory direction. That's another recipe here. Okay, so leafy greens, the next concept. So in my life, I started whole food plant-based in 2012. I think around 2018 or so, a very good friend, he knows a lot. I remember distinctly, at a get-together, he told me, do you eat leafy greens or not? You should eat them in large quantities. So I heard what he said. He knows a lot, but it went out of the other ear. I did not pay attention. And then 2019, 2020, I started studying these guidelines in depth. And then I realized, oh my goodness, leafy greens are the best vegetables. Dr. Greger says we should eat them in large quantities. And then there are these nuances about low oxalate leafy greens and stuff. But the big picture is we should be eating leafy greens in large amounts. And I realized Dr. Esselstyn says eat leafy greens in every meal, and just okay, you get the idea. So I said, okay, I will do this. I was not doing this for so many years, but I said, okay, I will do it. So how to do this? Okay, so I'll share two ideas with you. So one idea is to make a green smoothie in the morning. Okay, I have done this a few times. I don't do it consistently. In the whole food plant-based world, there are two opinions on smoothies. Should we make them or not? So I'll make a separate video on this smoothie discussion. I'll just give you a succinct summary of what I do. If I do this, we blenderize the leafy greens, but we really should chew our smoothie slowly. So I will serve it in a bowl and with a spoon by the side, and I will add some fruit toppings. So I'll take a banana, I'll chop it, or pomegranate, so that I'm forced to chew the smoothie. We should not gulp it down. And I will try to make a coarse smoothie with the low setting of the blender. Okay, so that's my strategy for green smoothie whenever I make it. And there are lots of recipes online, but I just made a simple thing whenever I do. I just take greens as they are. I don't add anything to it, and I'm okay with that. I eat it with a banana. It just works out for me. Okay, instead of that strategy, what I do every day is I started introducing leafy greens, specifically arugula, into my morning breakfast. So initially I tried a little bit. Okay, I said, let me add a little bit. Does it work? It worked because, the sweetish taste of this rest of the stuff overwhelms this taste of the leafy greens. It worked out fine. And then slowly, I increased the intake. So this is a picture from 2021 or so. If you look at the picture in this year, half of my plate is leafy green, arugula. I have increased it to this much. Now, I'm pretty sure in 2019 or so, I could not have eaten that. I was not used to these leafy greens. Arugula, I could not eat arugula. It was strange. Today, I can eat arugula in large quantities. So, my taste buds have adjusted because I consistently said, I want leafy greens in my breakfast. And then yesterday, a couple of months ago, I said, how about I try a different leafy green? I said, let me try watercress, let me try radish greens, because all of them are cruciferous. And I said, they all are okay for me because my taste buds have adjusted. Okay, so this is my strategy. I chop them, one of these three leafy greens, I add it like this. And Dr. Greger strategy for the cooked world, he has an example, he's cooking them, but I have become a raw person, the raw food. Okay. Sweet potatoes for breakfast. Sweet potatoes and whole grains are both starch-rich sources, so it is possible to use sweet potatoes also for breakfast, but I haven't done it. Some people do that. And my strategy is raw breakfast, and a bunch of grains can be sprouted. I'll make a separate video, what I do, how do I sprout. And in fact, a couple of them don't even need sprouting. Okay, they can just be soaked overnight. And some of them can be eaten just raw, like frozen sweet corn. We don't even have to do anything, it can be eaten as is. So I'll share all this in a separate video, but the pictures look like this. Okay, this is also sprouted raw breakfast. Okay, this one is also like this thing got sprouted. Okay, similar pictures. One last idea. I came across a nice article. We can put vegetables in breakfast. Okay, so here's a nice article. It's by the Conscientious Eater, and I think she motivates it from kids' perspective. She says some kids don't like to eat veggies, so how can we hide some veggies in the morning breakfast? So, a bunch of these vegetables, they can be cooked and pureed, or maybe raw and shredded, or whatever. In India, remember, we have raita. People use yogurt and then add bottle gourd grated, or the grated beets, or the grated cucumber to it, or the grated carrots. So all those things can be added to this stuff also. Not the cucumbers, but beets, pumpkin, carrot, zucchini. Okay, so you get the idea. Okay, I have not done that. And I think I shared a lot of complicated things with you, and usually at the end of my presentation I say, try to simplify it. So over time I also simplified my food plates, in the sense that my food plates nowadays, for the last couple of years, are made with just this stuff: 2 knives and a cutting board and a couple of bowls, and I have a bunch of bowls for carrying food to work. That's it. So I'm collecting information at Thankful to Plants. If you like this video, please like, subscribe and share. Thank you so much.